Hello again, this is Brad Wenz from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your Conservation Report. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about cover crops and how they fit into what we want to try to accomplish out there by improving the health of our soils. We're still getting a lot of interest in cover crops, types of cover crops that can be planted and when we can fit them into the rotation and what's the difference between single species and multi-species mixes, and how do we set things up. I think sometimes we need to kind of step back a little bit and look at, what is what are cover crops and what do they do for us, and how do they really fit into the whole soil health picture. And I think instead of asking, what kinds of cover crops can I plant, I think the real question should be, how do I improve soil health? Because really cover crops are only one thing that we can use, one of the tools we can use to improve soil health. And I think we talk about soil health, we got to ask, first of all, what does it really mean? And how does it fit in, and what kind of significance does it have in my bottom line, basically? A simple definition of soil health is the capacity of the soil to function. The capacity of the soil to function. That's what soil health is. You can ask, how well is your soil functioning to infiltrate water, cycle nutrients, to support growing plants? Another way to look at it is, soil works for you if you work for the soil. Soil works for you if you work for the soil. Management practices that improve soil health increase productivity and profitability immediately, and also into the future. A fully functioning soil produces the maximum amount of products at the least amount of cost. It increases, in other words, it maximizes your production and increases the bottom line. Maximizing soil health is essential to maximizing profitability. The two go hand in hand. Soil will not work for you if you abuse it. And if we look at managing for soil health, there's really kind of four things we need to do to maximize and increase soil health. We need to reduce the amount of soil disturbance as little as possible. This doesn't mean no-till right away, but it means reducing the amount of disturbance as much as you can, given your system and what you can manage out there. It also means growing as many different species of plants as practical. In other words, increasing the diversity of the crops that are being grown out there and the plants that are being grown out there. The third principle for soil health is keeping living plants in the soil as often as possible. Keep living plants in the soil as often as possible. And this is kind of where one of the key places where cover crops come in. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. And the fourth principle for soil health is keeping the soil covered at all times. Let's look at the first one, managing more by disturbing less soil, keeping that disturbance as little as possible. Tilling the soil is the equivalent of an earthquake, a hurricane, a tornado, and a forest fire occurring simultaneously to the world of soil organisms. Physical soil disturbance, such as tillage with a plow, a disc, or a chisel plow that results in bare or compacted soil, is very destructive. And it's also very disruptive to soil microbes and provides a very hostile instead of a hospitable place for them to live and work. Simply stated, tillage is actually bad for the soil when we look at it in the context of soil health. The second principle for soil health is diversify. Diversify the crop rotation, get different types of plants out there in your cropping system. Biodiversity is ultimately the key to success of any agricultural system. Lack of biodiversity severely limits the potential of any cropping system, and disease and pest problems are increased. A diverse and fully functioning soil food web provides for nutrients, energy, and water cycling that allows the soil to express its full potential. Increasing the diversity of a crop rotation and cover crops increases soil health and function and reduces input costs and increases profitability. We're getting back to this profitability and bottom line. We firmly believe that if you improve soil health, that improves your bottom line, it reduces inputs, and improves production and profitability. Now, the third premise, third principle for soil health is keeping those living roots out there as long as possible. Every day of the year, if possible. I think we can keep living grass roots or living plant roots in the soil all year if we really work at it. The soil food web is very complex, an association of organisms, and they break down crop residues and they cycle nutrients in the soil. But every organism has to eat, right? And a lot of people don't realize it, but a lot of the food that organisms eat in the soil comes off of exudates from plant roots. So the more living plant roots we have in the soil, the more food we have for the organisms to eat. The next, I think the fourth principle to soil health is keeping the soil covered as much as possible. Keep the soil covered as much as possible. Soil covers conserves moisture, intercepts raindrops, reduces erosion, suppresses weed growth, and provides a habitat for members of the soil food web. That's the biology that's in the soil. And this is true regardless of the land use, whether it's cropland, hayland, pasture. Even in pastures, I've seen pastures that didn't have a lot of residue on the surface. You might have had pretty good plant growth in places, but the rest of the soil was bare. Even in pasture conditions and hayland conditions, you can have poor soil health if you don't follow some of these principles. Diversify the plants in the mix and keep that soil covered as much as possible. So we need to step back and look at what we want to try to do with cover crops. It's one key component in improving the health of the soil, and the health of the soil equates to maximizing production and increasing our bottom line, not just for today, but for tomorrow and for the next generation. We do have some technical planning assistance available to farmers or anybody that wants to look at ways they can improve soil health on their farm. We have some funding assistance available. If you're interested in cover crops or maybe looking at reducing tillage on your farm or other things that involve soil health, there might be some money available. One source is the Natural Resources Conservation Service Environmental Quality Incentives Program, or EQIP. There's a date to remember, November 20th. That's the deadline to get apply for funding through EQIP for 2016. So if you're thinking about cover crops on your land or doing other things for soil health, try to get in here to our office, the Saltwater Conservation District office in Wade Park, and at the Farm Service Agency Service Center, and we can sign you up for possible funding for some of these practices in 2016, and do it before November 20th. Thank you very much. This has been Brad Wenz from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District. Have a good day.